Hello once again and welcome to News Central Television. This is News Now. Let's take a look at the top stories for the news in this hour. Soldiers reportedly killed as military repels Boko Haram insurgent attack in Borno State. President Tinubu seeks National Assembly's approval to borrow over 1 trillion naira. Malian military group calls for resignation of Prime Minister. Stay here with us to get the details of all the news in a moment. I'm Joe Hanson. Let's begin by telling you that a group of suspected Boko Haram terrorists have launched another attack on Kareto, a nearby border community with Niger and Chad republics in Borno State earlier in the day. Well, this was just days after a previous attack on the military camp in the area. Sources from the community said the military successfully repelled the attack, preventing any further harm to the residents of Kareto. The incident has once again raised concerns about the ongoing threat posed by the terrorist group in the region. This is covering the entire story. Umaru Kirawa joins me now on the news this morning. Welcome. Could you quickly shed more light on what the situation currently is in that particular area in Borno State?
Yes, Kareto community is one of the nearby communities to the republics of Chad and Niger. And the attack by the insurgents from intelligence sources is unconnected to the route Kareto, the importance of Kareto community to them, because it is believed that Kareto is one of the route of the insurgents. They used to traverse through that axis to go to Chad and Niger and so on and so forth, causing mayhem in the Lake Chad communities. And that is basically why they have continued to attack the community. Some military officers in Kareto, based on the information we are hearing. And the second attack, the military repelled. The third one, they repelled. And so far, so good. Based on the information I got, everything is calm. Though the community is one of the communities that the government intends to resettle. That is why even recently, some workers engaged in the construction of boreholes and so on and so forth in the community as part of efforts to resettle the community. But the insurgents are trying to destabilize or to disrupt the movement of resettling communities, basically because it is their route and they used to access communities within the Lake Chad region.
All right. Any updates on how the government is planning to address the ongoing threat posed by Boko Haram in Borno State now?
Well, basically, it has the approach has been a duo, use of both kinetic and non-kinetic approach. The kinetic approach, which is the use of force to deal with the insurgents who are marauding some of hideouts in Sambisa Forest and other parts of the Lake Chad. And the non-persuasive approach, which is popularly known as the non-kinetic approach, is the use of messages, information to convey to the insurgents or the terrorists to surrender, as hundreds of thousands of them have surrendered so far, and the government keeps making vast and very vast land and high potential for agriculture and other agribusiness.
Well, there seems to be a bit more of the similarities with the actual figure of persons that lost their lives during the attack. What figures have you heard, even though we do not know what can be confirmed as true? But what figures have you been able to hear so far?
But so far, like I've said, there is no official confirmation on figures of casualties. But from what we are hearing, from what some sources, unconfirmed sources are saying, about 20 or so were killed. But so far, there is no any official confirmation of the casualties of the retrogressive activities that took place in Kareto. Basically because the community is not yet resettled and only few civilians are there engaging in construction work.
Sorry to break in. Sorry to break in. When you said 20, you're talking about soldiers or the insurgents or people who just live in the community?
Can you come again?
I said the number you mentioned, the figure, the 20 that you're hearing, is it 20 soldiers or 20 insurgents, or the 20 are from the community?
Well, like I've said, it's an unconfirmed figure, but what we are hearing is the military. But there is no any confirmed source that has issued statement or confirmed information that this thing is really true. So we are on the fence on whether it is true or whether it is not true. But the fact is, there has been an attack on Kareto, and some people were killed, and the military have taken over and repelled the attack. Basically, this is the information we have. This is basically because the community, like I've said, it's a community that the government plans to resettle, and civilians are not much in the area. The only people that are there are those people engaging in construction works, that are engaging in rebuilding the destroyed houses, destroyed facilities, water, and so on and so forth. All
right. Omar Kirawa happens to be our correspondent there in Borno State, feeding us with the updates. Thank you for your time. We look forward to get back to you, and please do well to let us know if you have more updates. Well, away from security matters now, President Bola Tinubu has submitted a request to both chambers of the National Assembly seeking their approval to borrow over 1 trillion naira as part of the 2024 Appropriation Act. The president's request was presented to the Senate and the House of Representatives through 3 separate letters, where he also urged lawmakers to consider the passage of the medium-term expenditure framework for 2025 to 2027, the fiscal strategy paper, and amendments to the bill establishing the National Social Investment Program. Our correspondent Idong Joseph provides more information on this.
Legislative business in both the Senate and the House of Representatives resumed after a week-long recess, starting with the presentation of 3 letters from President Bola Tinubu to Parliament. The first letter requested that Parliament consider the medium-term expenditure framework for 2025 to 2027 and the fiscal strategy paper.
It is with pleasure that I forward here with the 2025 to 2027 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, MTEF and FSP. As the 2025 budget of the federal government of Nigeria will be prepared based on the parameters and fiscal assumptions of the approved 2025 to 2027 MTEF and FSP, it is imperative to seek National Assembly's expeditious legislative action on this submission.
The second letter requested that Parliament amends the National Social Investment Program Bill, which aims to enhance the implementation of the government's social investment programs.
Pursuant to Section 58, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, I forward herewith for the consideration and passage by the House of Representatives the National Social Investment Program Agency Establishment Amendment Bill 2024.
The final letter from President Tinubu sought Parliament's approval to borrow over $2.2 billion as part of the 2024 Appropriation Act.
I write to request for a resolution of the National Assembly to raise the sum of 1,767,610,321,779 naira,
provided as new external borrowing in the 2024 Appropriation Act to part finance the budget deficit of about 9.17 trillion.
After the letters were read to lawmakers, Both chambers resolved to addressing other pressing issues for the day. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Well, according to Nairametrics, not less than 6 loan projects have been approved, and they include loans for power, which go up to about $750 million. Women empowerment as well, $500 million. Girls education, $700 million. Renewable energy is not left out, $750 million. Economic stabilization reforms, $1.5 billion. And resource mobilization reforms, which go up to about $750 million, according to findings by Nairametrics. Also, the World Bank may approve 4 loan projects totaling $2 billion for Nigeria this year. If approved, Nigeria will have secured a total of $4.25 billion in loans from the bank this year alone, and a cumulative $6.95 billion under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Well, earlier, we were joined by Chartered Accountant Akin Fatuge to help us make sense of this.
I dare say, because hope springs eternal from hearts that looks at things very positively. $2.2 billion. I think with the performance of Nigerian in Eurobond lately, the projected $1.7 billion that will come from there looks good, in my opinion. And if you match that with the Sukuk, that will give an approximately $500 million, we should be home and dry with the over $2 billion in borrowing. And clearly, the problem is not in borrowing. The problem is in what we use that borrowing to generate. And part of what I am hearing and what I'm perceiving is in the area of social investment to push in the pains that has come in the wake of the very harsh and very tough decisions to try and balance the Nigerian economy, so that we can continue to tackle inflation, we can continue to strengthen the economic resilience, and hopefully we should be able to get the appropriate, this time around, peace between the monetary and the physical to take us to the high level. My other reaction quickly will be, how did we fare at the last count? So were we able to balance our books? Were we able to get efficiencies in our loan management?
48 hours after the Koko fire incident in the northern local government area of Jos Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, reconstruction work has begun for victims to start up their businesses again. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe visited the scene of the inferno again for an update on developments and filed in this report.
These children are mostly those of victims of the Sunday midnight fire incident that razed down as many as 170 shops, leading to over 1 billion naira loss. As guided, they are trying to save costs by gathering what would be useful for the reconstruction of new shops to replace the burnt ones, owing to the current economic hardship in Nigeria. They find joy doing this, while victims of the disaster have begun work to put their businesses back again. While some of them are still in shock over their losses and still in doubt about what tomorrow holds for them, others hope that government intervention will be swift.
Many of us here were poor. We are looking to what we will eat and survive to feed our family. But as governor yesterday came here, local government chairman came here. So we urged them to put us emergency help. That is where we are looking to the help is even they will provide us some zincs, or they will provide some cements and blocks and issues.
People are trying to rebuild their shops. Government is going to say that we do this and that. So unless we put our eyes and see what they are going to do. And we are not waiting for government to come and do something for us. We are trying our best now.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang, on his visit to the scene on Monday, assured of assistance to the victims while saying the market needs a facelift.
We would sit down together with the market leaders, with the Just North local government administration, and see how we can be able to rejig this market with a view to modernizing it so that in the next, it can last for several more years to come, that the newer generation will find a functional market that is in tandem with modern times. All the requests that the traders have made, we will look into them dispassionately. We will see how we can be able to prevent future occurrences of this type.
As much as everyone is hopeful for a better tomorrow regarding reconstruction of the market, it is equally important to detect the cause of the fire as well as a lasting solution to avoid a recurrence. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwe.
When we return, UK court jails 4 Nigerians over 2021 knife fight. Get the details here shortly. Welcome back. The Benue State Government has approved a minimum wage of 75,000 naira for workers in the state. The Governor, Hyacinth Alia, made this known after meeting with representatives of organized labor in Makurdi, the state capital. He says that payment of the remaining 3 months' arrears being owed to workers will commence from January next year. In response, the chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress in the state commended the efforts, saying that the increase will improve the well-being of workers in the state.
We had said we would take care of 5 months of your arrears. I know we had taken care of 2 months and 3 months are remaining. With this increase, what we intend to do is we would spread this into January. And I think it would make a lot of common sense. Since I was even the first governor that, declared our intention to do this willingly, but is doing it kind of 1-2 months later. Your 75,000 minimum wage is beginning this month.
As far as the civil service was concerned, before your emergence, we've had a series of problems in the state. But since you came, no civil servant in Benue State has received salaries beyond 23rd of every month. And as a result of this, it has placed us on a good foot that will be able to plan, even though the resources became very small because of the introduction of the removal of fuel subsidy. We want to tell you today, Your Excellency, that the workers of Benue State are proud of you.
Few days after the declaration of Lucky Aiyedatiwa of Ondo State as the winner of last Saturday's governorship election, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has rejected the results of the election. Ajayi, who said he has been studying and examining the election results across the state, disclosed that he would be heading to the tribunal to seek justice. The former deputy governor said he kept silent since the announcement of the results to enable him to investigate what he termed contents of criminality prosecuted by both the APC and the INEC. Ajayi said the investigation uncovered many actions undertaken to compromise the electoral will of the people. Speaking in a statement through his special advisor, Ayo Fadaka, Ajayi said democracy could not thrive in an environment where unabated criminality was perpetrated in the prosecution of an election by INEC. Let's tell you that 4 Nigerian students have been sentenced in the United Kingdom for their involvement in a violent altercation involving knives and a baseball bat in Leicester. The incident, which occurred on New Park Street in the early hours of November 4, 2021, left one victim with multiple stab wounds. Following a detailed investigation by the Leicester City Police, authorities identified the culprits through CCTV footage, phone tracking and public assistance. The 6-week trial concluded in October and the sentences were handed down on November 14. A report published on the police website last Thursday detailed the outcome. Let's tell you that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has announced the approval of a 1.1 billion naira compensation for property owners affected by the construction of the Airport Kuje Area Council Road project. The minister made the disclosure during a visit to the site to inspect the ongoing road construction works at the area. Our correspondent, Joshua Marayi, has more in this report.
It was the inspection of the 6-lane dual carriage expressway from the airport road to the Kuje Area Council in Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja. The minister of the FCT also inspected the structures comprising about 13 buildings, including some factories along the road corridor earmarked for demolition. He says that about 1.1 billion naira has been approved for the compensation of the owners of the affected properties affected by the road construction.
The entire estimate they gave is about 1.something billion, or 1.1 billion, and to pay for those whose property are affected, like some of these buildings you have seen here, down to the community. So it's about 1.1 billion, and we are going to make it available so that the contractor will not find any excuse for delay.
The minister, who earlier inspected the ongoing construction of the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal and its feeder road, expressed satisfaction with the progress of the projects.
It's progressing as expected. By the grace of God, we believe that September next year, the contractor would have handed over the structure, which is Abuja division of the Court of Appeal. I'm very much impressed with what I've seen. I can also see the construction of the road leading to that edifice. And the contractor is also doing everything possible to see that he beats up to the time.
He also reviewed that approval has been given for the implementation of a minimum wage increase for workers in the Federal Capital Territory. He urged them to be motivated by the increment and boost their productivity for the capital. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Due to the continuous fuel crisis and its skyrocketing price, the Nigerian government introduced the Compressed Natural Gas (CNG) initiative. The government said this is to reduce the hardship of the people and move the automotive sector to cleaner energy. Our correspondent Bola Tinubu takes a closer look at this.
In June 2023, the average petrol price in Nigeria reached 532 naira per litre, a drastic increase of 208% from the preceding year. Following series of fuel scarcity this year, the present pump price stands at an average of 1,025 naira.
Last year, I used to have a fill-up of between 12,000 and 15,000. And this year, my fill-up is above 40,000.
In a bid to ease the burden of high price of petrol and also transition Nigerian vehicles to cleaner energy, the government introduced CNG initiative, compressed natural gas, in May 2023, but listed approved centers September 2024. But how well have people received this initiative?
For me, I don't want to take that risk. Let me be managing what I know for now, other than to venture into such an unknown cause. At the end of the day, the regret will be very, very, very massive. So I don't want to.
I would really like to wait for when they bring it on board, and I've seen samples of people who have experimented on it, so that I will know the outcome and at that time my decision can be made. But for now, I insist I will stay on the one we are in the petrol one now.
Mama repo 65,000 every day. Coprolite, àwọn èrò gan ogun náà ń kanra torí pé kí ni owó mọ́tò tí wọ́n jù But our not affect go no. It could have almost something thousand a day. But when we gas easy, we gas your
With the campaign for adoption of CNG, there are concerns bordering on safety, but experts believe those fears are exaggerated.
Natural gas is still the safest. It is safer than petrol, safer than even the gas used at home. The gas at home is even more dangerous, more volatile, sorry, let me not use that word, more volatile than this gas. What happened in Benin is a very sorry case where some people think that they can weld the tank. The technology for CNG tanks is such that it is seamless. There is no welded part on it.
We do it with a certified federal government center, then you are rest assured of the materials that they are using. You do a walk-around check on a daily basis. Move around the vehicle, check the cylinder area, try out to perceive smell. So the moment you're perceiving smell, so that means there's leakage. Then when you are feeling the gas, it's not advisable to stay inside the vehicle while you're feeling the gas.
It appears there's a need for continuous awareness campaigns to demonstrate the advantages of converting to CNG and possibly flexible payment options to accommodate every spectrum of the society. In Lagos for News Central, Adebola Adeduba.
With the rising prevalence of cancer in the society, health experts and stakeholders have advocated for periodic screening. At an awareness campaign about cervical and breast cancer in Umuahia, the issues around vaccination, detection, management and treatment were brought to the fore. News Central's Chinwe Ogele tells us more in this report.
The conversation centers around cancer, its prevalence, causes, and the best way to handle it.
Invasive cervical cancer incidents fell following bivalent human papillomavirus vaccination. So when we vaccinate people, we don't get cancer.
According to experts, every woman is at risk of having breast or cervical cancer, despite the remote causes often referred to.
Please go for screening. Please take the vaccine if you are eligible. Please treat. Please want to know. It is not my portion. It's not part of it.
Wife of Ado State Governor Priscilla Oti says there is need for a teamwork to ensure that cancer prevention and treatment services are accessible to all, regardless of their background or financial standing.
Every woman in Ghana to join with me to champion this cause by ensuring that we cancel our daughters, sisters, mothers, female friends between the ages of 15 and 49.
Such awareness campaign is meant to drive home the message of the importance of taking seriously one's health.
It has become essential that we work together, hands on deck, boots on ground, to create a healthier, cancer-free future for our communities.
A cancer survivor shares her experience whilst advocating for a healthy lifestyle. At this event, the wife of the governor ordered for a free mammogram and pap smear for 50 randomly picked women from the floor.
When I went for Ikeduru, they said that I should bring 2.5 million for the radiotherapy. Then after the radiotherapy, that they will still send me to another place. There is no money. I am still crying since that very day. I don't know that my God will remember me today.
My friend survived it, so I know what it takes to be a cancer patient. So if I see a means to work hard and fight it, I wouldn't mind.
As government promotes the importance of good health for its citizens, the need to have available and affordable centers for screening and vaccination should also be made a priority in order to walk the talk. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ogele.
Coming up next here on News Now, Malian military group calls for resignation of Prime Minister. We'll bring you this story and more. Thanks for staying with us. The news continues in West Africa, where an influential support group of the Malian junta has called for the resignation of civilian Prime Minister Choguel Kokala Maïga after his criticism of the ruling generals. A section of the Malian military known as the Collective of Military Defense, CDM, is accusing Prime Minister Choguel Kokala Maïga of treason and denunciation following his criticism of the ruling generals. The group linked to the junta, Assimi Goïta, is demanding Maïga's resignation within 72 hours, calling his actions high treason. Appointed by the military in 2021 following Mali's second coup in a year, Prime Minister Choguel Kokala Maïga publicly criticized the junta on November 16 during events marking the November 2023 recapture of Kidal.
Monsieur le Président de la Transition, pour votre propre sécurité et pour le bien-être de notre pays, les Maliens vous prient de prendre pleinement acte des actions de votre Premier ministre, car une séparation s'avère préférable à ce stade. Il pourrait en effet vous vendre aux nombreux ennemis qui guettent notre nation. Que Dieu la préserve.
Jamais vu. C'est une humiliation totale en dehors de notre pays. Au niveau international, on dit, si ce n'est pas le Mali, on n'a jamais vu un PM aller à l'encontre de son propre gouvernement, critiquer son gouvernement. Et c'est une déception totale pour tous les Maliens. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes venus commémorer la reprise de Kidal et dénoncer son attitude qui n'a pas été correcte envers le peuple malien. Il a trahi le peuple malien. Parce qu'on peut...
Je dis, si j'étais le Premier ministre, si je suis conscient que je suis mal à l'aise dans un système, vous m'avez appelé, vous m'avez donné une responsabilité et que je ne vois pas mon rôle, je n'arrive pas à faire mon travail, je te remets ton travail. Cherche une autre personne plus compétente que moi et moins bavard.
In East Africa, top UN official and wife of leading opposition leader in Uganda, Winnie Bima, has demanded the release of her husband, Kizza Besigye, who, according to her, has been kidnapped and is being held in a military jail in Kampala. According to Bima, Besigye was kidnapped last Saturday while he was in Nairobi to attend a book launch by Kenyan opposition politician Martha Karua. In recent months, Ugandan authorities have intensified their crackdown on the opposition, arresting prominent leaders and putting members of opposition parties on trial. Besigye, an ally turned critique of Museveni, who has ruled Uganda with an iron fist since 1986, has been targeted by the authorities after several unsuccessful attempts to unseat him in elections since 2001. Let's head now to another story. Sudan's Army Chief, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has rejected any foreign interference in the country's war, a day after Russia vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire. Speaking at an economic conference in Port Sudan, Burhan dismissed dictates aimed at forcing solutions upon them and praised Russia's supportive stance. He said his government had never agreed to the draft resolution which sought to end the war between his army and the paramilitary rapid support forces led by his former deputy Mohammed Daglo. The war, which erupted in April 2023, has killed tens of thousands and uprooted more than 11 million people, creating what the UN has called the world's largest displacement crisis. Well, still ahead, Israel vows to continue until all hostages are found dead or alive. We have this story up next. And welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to continue efforts until all hostages are found and returned to Israel. He said this while visiting troops in the Netzarim corridor, Israel's main military supply route. With him was Defense Minister Israel Katz, Israeli military chief Herzi Halevi. Netanyahu vowed to go after and catch up with whomever holds and does harm to Israeli hostages.
מהמקום הזה בכל מקום
לאתר את חטופינו ולהשיב אותם. אנחנו לא מרפים מזה, ואנחנו נמשיך לעשות את זה עד שנשיג את כולם. החיים והחללים גם יחד. ואני רוצה לומר לאלה שמחזיקים את החטופים שלנו, מי שיעז לפגוע בחטופינו, דמו בראשו. אנחנו נרדוף אתכם, ואנחנו נשיג אתכם. לא לשלוט בעזה. אנחנו מחסלים את היכולות הצבאיות שלו, בצורה מרשימה מאוד. אנחנו עוברים ליכולות השלטוניות שלו, ועוד היד נטויה, החמאס לא יהיה בעזה.
Let's now join the business desk for this morning's business update.
Nigeria's foreign trade value in the first half of 2024 reached 65.88 trillion naira, a substantial increase of 162.33% compared to 27.78 trillion naira recorded in the same period of the previous year, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Nigeria achieved a trade surplus of 12 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, driven by strong export performance totaling 38.58 trillion naira. These export figures significantly outpaced imports, which stood at 26.44 trillion naira, highlighting the country's robust trade balance. European countries emerged as Nigeria's leading trading region in the first half of 2024, with a trade volume of 27.38 trillion naira. Asia followed closely with 21.75 trillion naira, fueled by substantial trade activities with major partners like India and China, while the Americas accounted for 10.18 trillion naira, primarily from oil and agricultural exports to the United States and Canada. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed Nigeria's resolve to reposition its mining sector as a driver of economic transformation and shared prosperity. Speaking at the opening of the 9th edition of Nigeria Mining Week in Abuja, the president, represented by the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Naji, outlined bold reforms aimed at enhancing transparency, sustainability and economic resilience in the sector. The president highlighted the administration's commitment to transparency and good governance, emphasizing fairness in licensing processes and regulatory frameworks. He also underscored the importance of environmental stewardship, local content development, and technological transfer as vital components for fostering resilience and creating employment opportunities. Foreign investment in Tanzania is expected to grow by a third next year, as President Samia Suluhu Hassan's pro-business stance has helped to reverse the impact of her predecessor's policies that antagonized investors. Authorities expect to receive foreign direct investment inflows of around $2.5 billion this year and $3 billion in 2025 from $2.2 billion last year, according to Tanzania Investment Center's Executive Director, Gilead Terry. The TIC expects investment interest for projects valued at $8 billion this year from $5.4 billion in 2023. The nation attracted $3.7 billion in 2021 when Hassan took over following President John Magufuli's demise. Her pro-business agenda has included stepping up foreign visits to woo investors, engaging local businesses, and simplifying the tax regime. And that's all on business news. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
In the world of sports, Edo Queens FC head coach Moses Aduku has expressed confidence that his team will recover from their semi-final loss to TP Mazembe and focus on securing a victory in Friday's third-place match of the CAF Women's Champions League. The Nigerian Women's Football League champions were dealt a 3-1 defeat by TP Mazembe of Congo on Tuesday. Despite taking the lead in the 64th minute through MMSCN, Edo Queens struggled to hold off their opponent. TP Mazembe equalized with just 6 minutes remaining in regulation time thanks to Mavil Kajinga's strike. An own goal in extra time followed by a penalty converted by Merlin Kasaj in the 108th minute ultimately sealed the win for the Congolese side.
Sometimes in football, do not give you the right thing you want. This was not the result we expected. My guys played. Unfortunately, we lost concentration right at the 90th minute. It's unfortunate, but that's football for you. It can happen to anybody. So we'll go back to the drawing board and get ready for the third place.
Chairman of the Lagos State Judo Association, Sheriff Mohammed, has expressed his excitement over the impressive performance of visually impaired athletes at the ongoing Blind Sports Fiesta, praising the Lagos State Government for reigniting hope for special athletes. The Blind Sports Fiesta, organized by the Lagos State Sports Commission, brought together over 100 athletes from across the state, competing for honors in 4 sports: powerlifting, judo, ayo, and goalball. The 4th Lagos Blind Sports Fiesta themed Hope Awaken kicked off on Monday with powerlifting, while ayo, lopong, and goalball competitions are set to begin later today. The event will conclude with a closing ceremony on Friday, November 22.
It's a very good initiative, and it's a welcome development, and it's a way of inspiring the blind athletes and to make them to fulfill their purpose in life and to ensure that they're not left. Judo is inclusive; it's for everybody. So for us to include the blind judoka, and Lagos State has been the only state in Nigeria that will be promoting, championing, and even have blind judoka. I think it's a welcome development, and it's a welcome development for us that we are still going to continue, and we're going to see.
Over 3,000 military personnel from 25 African countries have converged in Abuja for the 2nd edition of the African Military Games. The Games, which will begin today with a grand opening ceremony, will feature 19 sporting events, including athletics, football, basketball, wrestling, shooting, and taekwondo. At least 8 out of 25 countries have arrived in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, for the 2nd African Military Games, holding from 18 to 30th November 2024. The Games, which promise to set a high benchmark in participation, competition, and organizational excellence, reflects Nigeria's capability as a host and its dedication to fostering unity and cooperation through sports. That's all the news we have for you this hour, but before we go, a quick look at some of the major stories. Soldiers were reportedly killed as military repelled Boko Haram insurgents attack in Borno State. President Bola Tinubu is seeking National Assembly's approval to borrow over 1 trillion naira. We also told you that Malian military group has called for resignation of Prime Minister. Do well to watch News Central Television on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, and also stream live every day on Facebook and also on YouTube. Join the ladies as usual at 10 a.m. here on News Central Television for the program Jasiri. The conversations are indeed top-notch. I'm Joe Hansen, thanking you for watching. Good morning.